Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to look at one of the few romance films that I will cover on this channel. This is definitely meant for middle school and up, though I saw it as a young child. Probably not a good idea. I didn't understand a lot of it. We were obsessed with doing one of the dance moves in this film. It's very iconic. It came out in 1987. If you are from that generation, you are very much familiar with this film. This is Dirty Dancing. So why am I covering it? Well, this actually can play into if you are working on talking about class divides, particularly in the 60s, and certain situations with the effects of not having abortion be legal. So there are some strong topics in this film. So the big thing, which is where you get the title, is class divides. And it's very much based on the director and writer's summers in the Catskills. So that's up, I think, in the Virginia kind of mountains. And it tells the story of a young girl who's, I'm trying to pull up the Wikipedia, essentially how old Baby is. She's late teens. I don't think it is specifying. No, it's not telling me how old she is. Give or take, she's 16, 17. So she hasn't gone to college yet. She mentions that summer she was still obsessed with her father. And hintily, she was a big daddy's girl. And she her brain was obsessed with going into the Peace Corps. Yeah, and this is 1963. So this was the beginning of the Peace Corps back then. And it was kind of a different thing. And this was actually probably the first movie where I've heard about the Peace Corps, an organization which I did later join in a teaching capacity. Yeah, I mentioned that in previous other videos. I was not trained well and was not prepared for my own tour. But let's get back to this film. So, Baby, whose first name really is Frances, her father, her mother, and her older sister Lisa, who's probably about 18, 19, go up to this mountain. The owner is a former patient of her father's, who's a heart surgeon. So it's rare for him to get away on vacation. So he comes up there with his wife and two daughters. It's very obvious that Baby is she's very naive. She's very, very sheltered. I mean, she's coming from an upper class Jewish family, and she's not really experienced in the world. Neither is her sister, who's obsessed with shoes and what she's going to wear, and her mother just kind of thinks she's silly. And her father very much comes off of, there's a reason he's a workaholic. He loves his family, but he focuses on his work because his daughters are kind of somewhat spoiled, though he does love Baby. That is she is the apple of his eye, and very much. They are very, very close. She's very much a daddy's girl. So they come up here, and Baby meets, and they have a lot of dance classes. Dance classes, horseback riding, polo, stuff like that. And she takes a dance class in, can't remember, the tango or something, and meets Johnny Castle, who's one of the dance instructors, and one of his friend Penny, who's she's a female dance instructor. And she kind of gets to know the staff. Now, there is a hierarchy within the staff. You learn that. The dance instructors are Gentiles, so they are non-Jewish people, and they're working. They come from the working class, and they're looked down upon by people who are some of the waiters, specifically, and people who have to be in the dining rooms and are a little bit more refined, even though they are still staff. They're almost like they're college students who are spending the summer, while you have the dance instructors who do this for a living. They're far poor. They're not obviously from the upper classes, so to speak. And you learn a little bit more behind the scenes of what goes on. And Baby finds Johnny and his friends interesting. So what ends up happening, and it never completely spelled out. They do not say the word abortion in this book or in this film at all. It's heavily implied. But Penny gets knocked up. And her and Johnny normally perform at a different place. I don't think it's fully explained. But they think Baby offers to take her place. And so Penny and Johnny agree to this because they really don't have anybody else. And so they teach her, and a lot of the film is part of Johnny Castle and, to a point, Penny teaching Baby how to do this specific dance that involves them doing a lift and doing very suggestive dances. Again, this is more of the Spanish dances where it's far sexier. Though, of course, she's still dressed. It's the 1960s, so she's dressed appropriately. But there's a lot of lifts and turns and things that you would not see in, like, the foxtrot and traditional ballroom dancing. So, and basically what would be acceptable for a young girl or a woman of her class. So there's the big class divide there. And on the other side, you're also seeing her sister Lisa, who gets enamored with one of the waiters. In fact, she plans to kind of lose her virginity to him. And the other thing that's going on is you have these, what I think Johnny calls bungalow bunnies. These are older women whose husbands will come up on the weekends, and the women spend the entire summers up there, and they're known to have sex with the staff, and it is almost expected of them. It's kind of almost implied that if Johnny doesn't have sex with these women, they'll ruin his job. So he does it. It's almost like rape. It's never implied that way, but it's very much implied that this is the way things are. This is the status quo. You are of this class. Your job is to serve these. It's an open secret. So it's just not talked about. And that goes for a lot of the staff. One of the things that happens is Lisa goes to see this waiter, and she finds that he's having sex with one of these bungalow bunnies. So, hopefully understand that this guy is just going into medical school. The woman he's dealing with is probably in her 40s. So, and yes, this woman likes Johnny, and he's been kind of spurning her. He doesn't want to interact with her anymore. He's also falling in love with Baby, which he knows he's not supposed to be doing. He can get in a heck of a lot of trouble because she's younger and she's the daughter of a prominent doctor. So why the bungalow bunnies it's an open secret. They're married, but they're up there, but they're full-grown adults, grown adult women, and it's kept under the rug. Again, it's not talked about. They're not in love with them. And Johnny and Baby are falling in love with each other. And that's a big, big no-no. Particularly in their culture, because, again, he's not Jewish. And he's not of their class. In fact, her parents tried to push her on, I believe, the owner's son, who's a bit of a prick. He's a bit of an arrogant prick who talks about himself incessantly. And she does not like him at all. He doesn't like the fact that she seems to be not attracted to him and attracted to someone like Johnny Castle. So what ends up happening is Baby does in fact do the dance with Johnny. She isn't able to do the lift, but they hide it. And they're able to accomplish this. And she's able to help them out. But and I believe she does in fact lose her virginity to him. It's not explicit. You do not see anything. You see a scene where they're crawling around on the ground with each other, and it's very much a love scene. And from what I've read, what's funny is this was their screen test originally. This scene was not supposed to be in the film at all, but they had so much chemistry that they decided to put it in the scene, in the film. And it is a very good kind of puppy dog, they're in love kind of scene, where they're lip syncing to a specific song that I can't remember. I'm not going to attempt to sing. But after she does this, one of the bungalow bunnies, one specific one, sees Baby leaving his cabin and decides to accuse Johnny of that, knowing that he will not defend himself because he's not going to admit that he spent the night alone with Johnny. What she doesn't count on is Baby, who does. She's not going to let him get in trouble and go to jail for this. She also knows the culprit, which strangely enough happens to be an older Jewish couple who are pickpocketing, and she proves it. But Johnny still loses his job despite this, but he's not going to go to jail. And shortly after this, Penny's had the abortion, and it doesn't go well. And I think Johnny comes to Baby. Baby gets her dad. It's like, she got a doctor of a father. He has his medical bag with him, probably because he always does. And he goes and he deals with it, and he's pissed. He thinks Johnny's the one who knocked her up. And he pretty much calls the people they took her to butchers. And she's probably not wrong. And he takes care of it, but he forbids Baby from having anything to do with him. He's disgusted by Johnny because he thinks he's responsible for knocking her up. And Johnny actually comes and tries to apologize. Baby's pissed at her father because she knows he's not responsible. I don't think she knows who. I don't even think it's implied by one of the other, I think Johnny's cousin or something, that Johnny doesn't even know who did it, and they're not going to talk about it. So you do actually find out who it is. So what does end up also happening is you have this final scene where the owner's son, the little prick who they tried to hook Baby up with, he's pissed off because he still wants to show off to her. Because again, in his mind, she should be attracted to him because this is the way things are. And she's the ideal wife for him because they're of the same class and her family comes from money. So, and of course her father has no sons. So he's putting on a talent show, and normally Johnny is the one who's in charge of this. So it's the end of the season. They're doing their talent show. Her sister is very much involved, and Johnny shows up and gets Baby out of the corner. Yes, this is the iconic scene. Nobody puts Baby in a corner. This has been memed like crazy. He gets her out, and he takes her up to the stage. And he walks on the stage and talks about how Baby inspired him to stand up for your friends and stand up for what you believe in. And he admits that she's an amazing dance partner. So he's going to, and that he's always been the one to close off the season. And this time he's going to do it his way. He's going to dance the dances he loves with her, and basically calls her an amazing partner. And you have this whole huge final dance scene where he dances to her and they dance on stage, and she's able to get a running jump and do this lift, which yes, me and my friends, my sister tried to do this in water incessantly. And yes, you do in fact see them practice in the water, in this lake, which if I remember correctly, naturally drained, and I think is slowly filming up again. So where they actually filmed it. But that's just a side note. And so they do a huge dance thing at the end. But the other thing you find out is the waiter had talked to Baby's father and admits that he's trying to go to med school, so her father gives him a check. And then, however, he makes an interesting little comment about Penny. So he's the one who got her knocked up. He doesn't give a damn. She's lower class. She's worthless in his eyes. And Baby's father gets angry. He takes the check out of his pocket and rips, makes it up. It's like, and pretty much implies that the guy is scum. It's like, yeah, no. I do not think the way you do. What you do is horrible. You had sex with a girl and you left her pregnant because you weren't careful. So, and then he apologizes to Johnny. He's like, I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong. And I say I'm wrong. So he basically acknowledges it. And that's the end of the film. So it's a fun movie, but it's also touching on some really interesting topics. Now, again, this is a film from my childhood. This is something I watched as a young kid without really understanding what it was about, which is the reason young kids may enjoy it, because it's a fun music. There's a lot of great music. You see a lot of kind of the interactions, but they're not going to, I wouldn't show it to younger children until middle school, and that's pushing it. High school would be my preference. I'm trying to think what this is rated, and if they're even going to do a rating thing on this, because again, it's from 87. What is there a rating on here normally? Yeah, it's rated PG-13. So this is a teenage film. This is something, it does have educational merit because it does show that class divide. And it also talks about a very hard topic, even though it's very quiet when they talk about it, is what happens when you have illegal abortions and that's effect on society and who is really being affected by it. In this case, Penny, who was a dance instructor, who she was probably, by the looks of it, seduced by this guy. And yeah, so this is, did I mention, yeah, who was also seducing Lisa. And again, they most likely were doing this because Lisa and Baby were doctors' daughters. They were ideal marriage prospects, essentially. They were, and that's what they were seen as. They were seen as dollar signs. And at least to these specific Jewish, younger, upper class, very arrogant men. Obviously, this doesn't apply to all of them, because you see her father at the end being pissed off and obviously not believing this and apologizing. So you see him acting very differently. But you also see the fact that this waiter doesn't care. I mean, he had sex with a bungalow bunny, and he's trying to seduce Baby's sister Lisa, which I think by this point Baby knows. It may be possible, I may have been wrong, that they do know who did this, and so Baby knows who it is. She does not tell her sister when she's dealing with her sister, who is crying and upset. And she knows. It's like, oh dear, yeah, you dodged a bullet. But she does not tell her sister that this guy knocked somebody up, because it's not her business. And she doesn't want it. She knows her sister will reveal it to their father. And she's hiding. Remember, Baby's hiding this from her family. They have no idea what she's doing. Lisa has an idea that she's in love, but doesn't quite know what the heck she's doing, because Baby's always kind of been nerdy. And she wants to join the Peace Corps. She's a big daddy's girl. She's probably somewhere between, I'm guessing maybe 17 or 18. She's very young. She's very naive. So, and that's the reason she's focusing on the Peace Corps. Though for note, I think even then you had to have at least a 4-year college degree or experience. Though back in the 60s, it was definitely geared toward the young college students. It's still kind of geared toward college students. But that's another video. I will one day maybe talk about the Peace Corps. But it's a good film to watch if you're looking to look at these class divides and to look at the shame of illegal abortions. You do not see anything. Basically, Baby brings her father. He goes in with his bag and eventually comes out royally pissed, basically saying she's going to live, she's going to be fine, and talking about the butchers and how horrible they were and how she was just kind of torn up. And that's essentially what happens when women can't get safe, legal abortions, and that's what was going on. That they would, in desperation, because Penny's life would have been over if she got pregnant out of wedlock. This is the 60s. It's highly looked down on. She would have been blamed. It wouldn't matter who knocked her up. She would have been at fault, and she would have lost her job and her career teaching dance, and her world would be over. So, and of course, he wasn't going to do anything. I mean, she's not Jewish. He's going off to college. His family would never accept her. He was just having sex with her. So he may have seduced her, for all you know. And no, Penny and Johnny never get together. I think they grew up together. They were more like brother and sister. They just happened to had really good chemistry dancing to each other. In fact, I'm trying to think who the actress is who plays Penny. It's Cynthia Rhodes, and I'm trying to think of if she did anything else. Yeah, she was definitely in a lot of the 80s stuff. She hasn't done anything since the 90s, but she was definitely in a lot of the 80s. She was active in the late 80s. This is the only major film that she did, it looks like. But, I mean, they happen to have decent chemistry. So, again, I enjoy this film because I enjoy the music. It's a lot of great music. It's a great story to tell when you're looking at this way of life and the class divides that are still very present, but it's very black and white here in what's going on. And you see this coming of age over the summer of Baby going from she's young, she's sheltered, she's naive, to seeing this whole different side of the world of how cruel people can be, what can happen when you get pregnant, and how this working class lives. And it changes her. Now, she always wanted to help people. If you join the Peace Corps, she wanted to join the Peace Corps. She wanted to go out and help people. She was probably very, very naive about what the Peace Corps really was. But again, it was 1963. It was absolutely brand new. Because the Peace Corps can be very, very hard. Admittedly. My own tour was interesting. I mentioned I was not well trained. I didn't have a teaching degree, and I was teaching, which was probably not the best idea. And I was a 25-year-old, extremely naive, very sheltered, with an anxiety disorder. I have social anxiety, so yeah. I don't regret my experience, but I would have been probably better off had I had a teaching degree and knew what the heck I was doing. So, but again, back to the film, Baby grew up in this. I think a little bit so did her sister, though her sister is still trying to, it's very much implied that her sister still wants to be that naive. She doesn't want to see this world. She got a glimpse of it, and she's hiding behind the curtains, and she doesn't want to look. She's turned her back and wants to go back to doing her cute little world and singing in the talent show, dressed in a Hawaiian skirt, and kind of embracing this world, while her sister grows up and kind of breaks out of this. So, fantastic film, one of my favorites. That's the reason I'm covering it. Do not show it to anybody mature, middle schoolers and up, just because the younger kids aren't going to get out of it. It's a great film to talk about when you're looking at the specific class divides you found, specifically in these resorts in the Catskills in the 60s, and looking at the results of illegal abortions and how that can affect on people's lives. So that is it for this review. A lot of times this is one of the rare ones where I'm talking about more mature stuff. I covered them sporadically just because they're films that I love, and I'm choosing to cover them. This one specifically does have educational merit. I do a lot of other reviews. I cover mostly children's books and more family and educational topics, and particularly family films. A sprinkling of non-religious homeschooling stuff, because we are a non-religious homeschooling family, even though I have a toddler. We are homeschooling from the start. And a sprinkling of travel videos. And I've been to some other stuff. You want to watch my intro if you want to find out more of what I have planned. I have a bunch of stuff already filmed. Check out my playlist. And I have a bunch of stuff planned. So like and subscribe and check out what I have to offer. Thank you.